Jump Force was supposed to be a celebration of the most beloved anime and manga of all time. From Dragon Ball to JoJo's, from Yu-Gi-Oh! To Bleach, Jump Force included characters from classic series across Shonen Jump's history. But once it got into the hands of its fans, it ended up being a huge disappointment, and as time went on, things only got worse. So what happened to Jump Force? Before we get into it, subscribe if you haven't already. I talk about video games on this channel, whether it's reviewing them or looking back on them, so if that interests you, subscribe. Also, if you like variety gaming content, check out my second channel, the link is in the description. So let's first explain what Jump Force is. Jump Force was an arena fighting game featuring characters from various manga that were featured in Shonen Jump. Some of the most popular being Dragon Ball, One Piece, Naruto. This game differs from your average 2D fighter in that the player is free to move around in a 3D space. A lot of other fighting games based on anime follow this format, such as the Ultimate Ninja Storm games. Fights are also 3v3 based in the vein of Marvel vs. Capcom. I'm gonna be honest, I had a lot of fun with this game. A bunch of my friends played it and we had a blast mixing different team compositions. Not only that, the game was super fast paced and really easy to get into. I really liked Jump Force. With all of that out of the way, let's discuss the game's history. On June 10th of 2018, Bandai Namco released a trailer for a new Shonen Jump crossover game titled Jump Force. The hype should have been high since the last game that had these beloved anime characters duking it out was released back in 2014 exclusively on the PS3, 4, and Vita. This game, however, was set for a multi-platform release on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Although Jump Force should have had a lot of hype upon its reveal, it actually ended up with a lot of distaste from its audience. The biggest problem people had were the graphics. The game kept these characters in their anime appearances, but put them in an art style that was far from anime. It gave this weird, uncanny valley effect that was super uncomfortable to look
I felt
at.
that way about it.
But most people chalked it up to the game being a work in progress, so it wasn't all that bad. But then the game released, and it wasn't that bad, it was worse. The graphics were still horrendous to look at, and once players got a hold of the game for themselves to play, they got to see the true horrors that lie within. The first that I'll talk about is the story. Although story is rarely a big thing in fighting games, in Jump Force, the game makes you play through an hour-long introduction before being able to hop online. That should show you how prevalent the story was for this game. The writing for this game is just horrendous. With over 17 franchises incorporated into the game's roster, the writers somehow couldn't develop an interesting story. It was super repetitive, rarely gave fan-favorite characters the time of day, and just had nothing memorable about it. One aspect about the story that actually plays into the gameplay was the player's custom character. At the start of the game, you could create a character that's modeled after a certain fighting style, such as, Dragon Ball characters or the One Piece characters, or one in the roster. This bled into the game's multiplayer, which is the next aspect I'll discuss. The multiplayer was a lot. Balancing patches rarely came through, so it wasn't uncommon to fight the same few team compositions over and over again. This also meant that a lot of the roster was unviable. Combos were really simplistic due to the 2 attack buttons available and special moves being bound to a menu. You just spam buttons, use a special, maybe an assist. That was all you had to do to build your combos. Also, even though the game was released on the newest consoles of the time, the game tanked frames due to the insane particle effects caused by the special moves. Overall, the game had plenty of issues, and in 2021, Bandai Namco announced that the servers will be shutting down in the following year. While the small yet passionate fanbase was upset with this news, even worse news arrived when it was announced that the game and its DLC would be completely delisted from digital stores. A lot of people think this is due to the game not doing well, which isn't entirely true. While researching this video, I learned that it was actually due to licensing issues. Yes, all the characters got their starts in Shonen Jump, but in today's age, these franchises are all owned by different companies. For example, JoJo's is actually owned by Warner Brothers. I bet you didn't know that one. So with this, plus the poor health of the game, I think Spike Chunsoft and Bandai Namco just chose not to renew the licenses for these characters, and thus tossed the game. While it does make sense, it's really annoying to have the entire game delisted. This results in keys for the game or even discs for the console versions having prices that are just way higher than they should be. But that's the end of the road for Jump Force. I'm not sure if they'll ever do another Shonen Jump crossover game, even though it doesn't make sense for them to see Jump Force's failure and automatically assume the fans don't want another game. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen because that's just how big name game devs are.
Jesus Christ, this shit was too good. Fuck me, they sold that game. Jesus. Could have went fucking far. It could be, yes, but you play, and who said this? Now people playing Z Fighters again. Yeah, okay. Sure. Sure, pal. They had a competition? Dragon Ball Z Fighters Grand Finals? Watch a little bit of this. Not watching the 20-second ad, not watching the 12-second ad. Here we go.